Gorilla woman.
And welcome back to the channel. Today we're checking out the new Vector Optics Frenzy S 1x17x20. It's the multi-reticle version, and it does have an aspheric lens, which is all new. This model is branded SCRD-M68. If you remember the original Frenzy S, this one looks very familiar at first glance, but there are a few important differences. Thicker housing, clear aspheric lens, redesigned buttons, and some internal changes that matter in real world use. I ran this one on my 12 gauge shotgun and a SIG fuse, and I even tried to fit it to my TSOS DS9 double stack duty, but there's a spoiler alert to that. It did not fit due to the added edge on the front of the housing. I'll explain that in a bit. So here are some quick specs, product and retail listings. The objective lens is 17x20mm aspheric enclosed lens. The reticle is a 3 MOA multi-reticle option on some of the SKUs, 9 daylight plus 2 night vision brightness levels. The battery is a CR1620, which it is side loading. The battery life bolsters up to 50,000 hours on a lower setting. The specs will vary with each model. The weight is around 26 grams or close to 1 ounce without the mount. The housing is machined out of 7075 T6 aluminum alloy. The mount material is a 6061 T6, finished with the matte black. It is shockproof rated up to 1500 Gs, IP67 waterproof and dustproof rating. The operating temperatures is around -20 to 60 degrees Celsius. The footprint is a MGT RMSC style. Compatibility will vary with models and adapters. The first impressions and the build quality. Right out of the box, the SCRD-M68 feels more robust than the OG Frenzy S. Vector kept a compact footprint but increased the wall thickness around the window. That's obvious when you pick it up. Machining looks cleaner, crisper edges, uniform anodized, and the little details such as the screw bores and the chamfers are a little tighter. It's still small enough to EDC use, but it conveys a duty feel that the original flirted with, but it didn't really fully deliver. Now onto the weight and the footprint. It's short and practical. The weight sits around 26 grams without the mount, so you still get a micro dot feel. It's a hair heavier than the first gen, but not enough to upset the balance on the SIG fuse or a full-size pistol. On micro EDCs, you'll feel the extra robustness, more of a slight shift, but for most people, the trade-off is worth it. Now, onto that multi-reticle aspheric lens. It's the actual difference maker. This is the main upgrade. The aspheric glass reduces edge distortion, and the new coating removes that bluish green tint from some of the earlier ones that you've seen from the early Frenzy models. That means a crisper dot and a cleaner target image, day or night. The lens is also enclosed and recessed just a hair for protection, which helps with stopping debris and reduces chances of chipping on the slide mounts. Product specs even call this the first enclosed aspheric lens in this form factor and stress IP67 waterproofing and shockproof resistance. Both of those were tested in competition, as I did run this on top of my fuse in a 2-gun match. Now onto the reticle and the dot performance. It's a 3 MOA dot, it's bright and crisp. The dot looks sharper thanks to the lens and anti-reflective coatings. There are usable steps in brightness, 9 daylight, 2 night vision on some of the builds, so you're not fighting coarse brightness jumps. The unit I had responded instantly to brightness changes, and the dot held its shape across most settings, so you do get that multi-reticle, and the brightness stays pretty much the same throughout the whole time. I think you will get reduced battery life if you go to the one with all of the options on there. So you have the dot, the circle dot, and the circle dot cross. So I'm pretty sure that will burn most of your battery life up. Onto the buttons and control. They are redesigned. The new button redesigns are now raised with a positive tactile feedback. On the original, it felt recessed and a touch mushy. These are easier to index, which matters when you need to change the brightness quickly during drills or in gloves. There are also a shake to wake motion feature on some of the variants. If you want a longer battery life, I suggest you go with that because that does help out a lot. This one is side-loading CR1620 and vector lists very long standby numbers. Retail pages show up to 50,000 hours on the lowest setting. In practice, with mid-level use, I ran it for weeks on a single battery during testing without any issues. The side loading keeps you from removing the unit to swap batteries, which that is very convenient for your EDC. Now, onto the mounting and the fitment. This is the real world snag. The mounting footprint is listed at MGT RMSE style, and many pistols accept it fine. In my testing, it mounted and zeroed perfectly on my SIG fuse and stayed rock solid on my 12 gauge shotgun. No zero shift, no flicker, and the dot stayed reliable and tracking under recoil. But here's a critical real world note for people with odd slide cuts. I tried to fit it on one of my 1911s/2011s, which is my TSOS DS9 duty, and it would not seat properly due to the thicker front edge on the housing that gives the SCRD-M68 its extra durability, and it interferes with the DS9 slides. The optic couldn't sit flush, so if you have a pistol with a tight front cut or a non-standard RMSE MGT pocket, test for fitment before assuming it would drop in. That front housing bead definitely made it a no-go on the DS9 for me, which I really wish it would have. I probably could have modified either the slide or the dot. Preferably the dot, I could have probably shaved it down just slightly and it would have fit. But I don't want to ruin it. I don't want to ruin the integrity of the dot or the integrity of my slide to take either one out of the spec. So I'll just leave it the way it is. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. The thicker housing is the real protection. I banged it on a bench a few times as far as just walking around at the range, and it held it, took it, shrugged it off. Where in the earlier model, it probably would have shown a ding, but it definitely would not have dropped to zero. Vector claims it has a 1500G shockproof and an IP67 waterproof. I ran it through both a handgun and the shotgun platform, and it behaved like a tougher little sight. No fogging, no water ingress, and the dot stayed stable after multiple sessions. I ran it all day long during the competition. As you can see some of the clips, all day long I ran it and it held up nicely. Ran it right beside the Frenzy S, the bigger model with the housing shroud on it. Had no problems all day long. It stopped raining at the end of the match. It had been soaked all day. You'll see some of the marks where I just swiped the water off of it and it kept going. Some of the higher end dots that people were using, they were going down. They were getting water inside of them. I think it was an acro out there. The guy definitely had water inside of his acro. So that is a huge plus to this. Now, let's go head to head with the original Frenzy S. The new aspheric lens, which is clearer with less tint, reduced edge distortion, that is a big upgrade. Onto the housing, it is thicker, stronger, and more durable than the first gen. You do get a slight trade on the weight increase, but that's alright. It's on a pistol, it's on an EDC, it's on a smaller handgun, so it's not going to really matter. The buttons have been redesigned with a better tactile feedback. It still has the same convenient side load CR1620 on this SKU versus the other models that use a CR232. Always make sure you check your SKU numbers and make sure that they are the correct ones before you put the wrong battery in. You could definitely burn up your board inside of it or cause issues with the emitter. Now the fitment, the original was sometimes easier to shoehorn into tight slides. This new one with the front edge on it, it did not like my TSOS DS9 duty. It may not accept it or it may accept it on yours. Your mileage may vary. Now on to the pros. It is a much clearer aspheric lens with a better sight picture, which I think you should be target focused anyway. The dot comes second, just for aiming reference. It is a robust 7075 T6 housing with a thicker front edge for durability. It sports a crisp 3 MOA dot with the useful brightness steps and the NV options. Long battery life and side loading convenience. IP67 water rating and a 1500G shockproof rating. It held up to the handgun and the shotgun. Now, the cons, it is slightly heavier than the original, still light, are noticeable on tiny frames during recoil. And the added front housing edge can cause fitment issues on some slides such as the 1911s or 2011s. Make sure you always check that. The price is a tiny bit higher than the OG model, but you'll get the upgrade in the optics and it'll definitely build up for what you need. So my final thoughts, if you like the original Frenzy S for the size and simplicity, the SCRD-M68 keeps those strengths and adds meaningful durability and optical upgrades. The aspheric lens clarity alone makes it worth considering if you want a sharper picture with less distortion. The only real world caveat is the fitment on certain slides. It may or may not accept it. But that was only on testings on my 2011. That's not to say it's going to be like that on your 2011. Other than that, it ran on a SIG fuse and a 12 gauge and performed like a little tougher, cleaner looking micro red dot. If you like this kind of content, hit that like, share, subscribe. Come back and enjoy some more videos with me, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Also, make sure you give me some constructive criticism to up the standards on the channel. That way I can bring you guys some more high quality footage. See y'all in the next one. Oh yeah, do me a favor. Make sure you hype up this video. Now I'll see y'all.
Woman.